Okay, so hi again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this workshop. I think we would start and then the rest of the other people who are not here can join us later when they come in. So my name is Esther, and I am a co-founder of the Magnolia Community. It's just a small NGO that comes up with resources like this. And then we also have career chats that happen from time to time to help people develop their careers. So today's workshop is going to be with Mr. Kweku Folson, who's been in this field for about 10 years. And so I'm going to pass it to him and then he can give an in-depth um, intro for us. And then after he intros, you can all also introduce yourselves, your name, your background, where you are in this field. And then you can also let us know how you came across this link. Thank you.
Okay, hi, and good afternoon to everyone on this call. And thank you to Esther and William for this opportunity to come and share in this workshop. I hope you can see and hear me okay. If the video is affecting your bandwidth, you can let me know and then we can probably turn off our video. So yeah, today I'm going to be doing like a network engineering workshop, and I would like to know, at least for those of you who are participating, what your background is, or as Esther asked, like what has brought you to participate in this, and from there, I think we can take things up. So if those of you on the call can introduce yourself, I would be happy.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm Paul and Kwaku. Yeah, this is Paul. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'll say I have a background in management, tourism, hospitality, and planning. Yeah, I have like three different backgrounds, but I've started new studies in network engineering, and I told Kwaku about it. So when I saw this meeting, I said, I think it would be a great thing for me to join. So basically, that is something about me.
Okay. Great, awesome.
Yeah.
And maybe I see John. Maybe John, can you maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and what drew you to this workshop, and maybe what you are hoping to get out of it? Yeah.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is John, and I'm currently working with Huawei Technologies. So I'm an MDNS engineer, and I was just going through LinkedIn, and I chanced upon the post not long ago. That was about an hour ago. So I was like, okay. And during my time in KNUST, I think when I was in second year, you came to have a talk with us on campus in the auditorium. So,
Right.
and I kind of know your story and I've been following you for some time. So I was like, why don't I tap into whatever you are coming to share this evening? I might be able to pick one or two that I can also add to my skills I have already.
Okay, that's great. So was this 2014? Because that was the first time I came to KNUST, but I was there a
Yes.
few
Okay.
times.
Yes. I think that I was in first year rather by then.
Okay.
That
All
was
right.
2014. Yes.
Okay, so almost 10 years. Wow. Okay. Awesome. And then I see Ikua on. Ikua, can you just give us a brief introduction, tell us a little bit about yourself and what drew you to this workshop?
Hello everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, so Irekwa. I chanced upon the flyer on LinkedIn just a few minutes ago, and from somebody trying to transition into the technical world, if I should put it that way, from the energy sector, I was really interested, and I just wanted to find out what exactly was going to happen here, and also to gain a comprehensive understanding of network engineering and I think its integration with various other technological aspects. So that's why I'm here. Just want to learn, get educated. Thank you.
Is this Shadi?
Yes, this is Shadi.
Oh, okay. Nice to have you on. Okay, and then Man Biggie,
Thank you.
I know who that is, and then Edem. So yeah, you guys can just give a brief introduction and then we'll go to the final, is it ins? And then I guess we can begin. So whichever of you three wants to go first, maybe we'll go with Man Biggie. Okay, if Man Biggie is not ready, let's go on to Edem. Edem, can you just give us a brief introduction and tell us what has drawn you to this workshop?
Howdy, so my name is Edem. I'm an IT officer with a Bible Institute in Ekropong in Ghana. Yeah, so basically just self-development. So see what's new, what I can pick up and use to improve my work.
Okay, all right, okay.
You look good, man.
Thanks, it's been a while. And then we have Prince.
Yeah, so friends, I'm an IT person. I saw the link on your status, the WhatsApp status, and I said, "Oh, let me check it out and see what it's about." Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, Michael. Michael, you just tell us briefly about yourself and then what you hope to get from this workshop.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Michael, and I'm a software engineer, and I teach as well. So
okay.
I think Gifty Bua shared it, and I'm interested in getting to know how to the basic setup for network for corporates. So I just want to gain some insights here. So yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, all of you, for sharing. So I guess it's like a pretty good mix of people from different backgrounds. Some are trying to transition, some are also trying to some are already in the field, but in different areas. Other people too are also coming just to kind of improve on their knowledge and all of that. And that's all good. So there will be something for everyone. And so I have a presentation that I'm going to begin with. I'm basically going to talk about a few things, give you a bit more details about myself, and then if we have time, we'll go on to like the hands-on workshop bit. So let me see if I can share my screen here. Oh. Right, okay, so everybody can see the slide, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me just, if at any point you have any question to ask, I think you can put your hand up using the Zoom buttons and then we can get right into it. So yeah, looking ahead and trying to just talk about my experience and my background and then see how we can all leverage that, or I mean, I will close the participant screen. So if you have any question, you can put it in the chat, and then Esther, you can collate the questions and draw my attention to it. All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. So about me, I currently work with a company in Canada. So I live in Canada, actually. My name is Kweku Folson. I live in Canada in Kitchener, Ontario. I work with a company called OpenText. OpenText is one of Canada's largest software companies who are into like enterprise information management and basically information storage and information, like anything that has to do with like storing informations. And we cater to like a lot of Fortune 100 companies and like large corporates in terms of helping them with their information management. I have, so I'm a principal network engineer there. A principal is like a senior resource within the team and like a senior point of escalation within the team there. I joined this company in about just about maybe 8-9 months ago, ending of November last year. So I have been there for less than a year. And basically, I'm into network operations, network design, and network security. That constitutes like the bulk of the work that I do. I have about 14 years in the industry. And that is because right after graduating from university, I knew this was the field that I wanted to get into. And so I've been doing that ever since like graduation in graduating in 2009. In the background, in the brackets that I have COE 475. So COE 475 was a course that we took in final year computer networking. And I sometimes joke and say that that is for the whole 4-year degree that I did. I think that's the only course that really benefited me. So work history, I'm working in a number of companies. I was just thinking back and I realized I'm working in my 10th company. In Ghana, I worked with Africa Online. I began there with National Service and stayed on there for a while. Afterwards, moved on to the banking system. I was with Fidelity and Standard Chartered, and then Vodafone right before was my last company before I came to Canada. When I came to Canada, my first job was with Rogers, which is also like a telecom company, which is very much like Vodafone. So it was really exciting and really great opportunity to get to enter back into the same industry that I left Ghana with. And I was a contractor there for a few months and then went on to other companies, a mix of contract and full-time. But for Arctic Wolf Next Dimension and my current company, I've been working there full-time. These are some of the certifications that I currently hold or have held in the past. Some of them have been retired. Some of them have been, I mean, like when you get into certification, you realize that like a lot of changes and updates take place. So these are just a few of them. I mean, if I were to list all the certification exams that I've taken, it would probably be like just very small dots filling the screen. But these are just a few. And then I guess the crown of them all in the center is what is known as the CCIE, the Cisco Certified Internet Networking Expert. So this is kind of like when you get into networking technologies, Cisco Systems is like the company which kind of like almost virtually invented networking, or they are like the biggest company when it comes to like networking and anything having to do with networking. And they have a number of certification programs with the Apex certification being the CCIE. So the CCIE is like a practical hands-on examination that I actually had to travel to Dubai to take because it is not administered anywhere in Africa. And I had to travel twice to take the exam because it's like a really tough exam that, tough 8-hour, it's like an 8-hour exam. So it's like a really tough exam that you have to like, really invest in preparing for. So that is kind of like the crown jewel of my certification. So these are some of the pictures from my trip to Dubai. And once you are successful and you pass the exam, you get a special number, you get a glass plaque that goes with it. I will show you the glass plaque when I stop sharing the presentation. But you basically get this plaque with your number on it, and all the perks, if any, that go with it. But I mean, yeah. Before I took that exam, there were a few people. These are specifically like Ghanaians who have also passed through that path. That these are kind of like people that we used to look up to, people who used to, really inspire us. This gentleman, Joseph Anochi, he's currently the Director General of the National Communications Authority, for those of you who are in Ghana. So wonderful guy, lived and worked in the US for many years, working with NASA, rose to, he rose to like a high level of prominence within the NASA, like network engineering field, and came back to Ghana after being given that appointment. He was actually like the head of IT for the National Patriotic Party during their 2016, was it 2016? Yes, 2016, when they were vying for political power. He came down to help them, and he's now the Director General of the NCA. So today you're just going to be talking about like IT networking, and it is a growing field with a lot of like demand for it all over the world, especially in North America, right? In North America, especially in the USA, you have like amazing opportunities, and the demand is just so high because as we will get to see, networking is at the very foundation of like any and every business today, right? Any business that is that is of any sizable magnitude, right? Any business that is delivering services, any business that is, I mean, just think about it. Like most of the technology or most of the services and the apps that we run today, they need a network underlying it to be able to run, whether it is an on-premise network or cloud network that I would go on to talk about later. It's like every company needs a network. Like this Zoom conference call that we are on right now, it's possible to talk to people in Calgary, in Accra, in Tema, in Kumasi. It's all because there's a network that is underlying the infrastructure that is used to deliver these services. All your social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, all these companies are able to deliver their products and give access to people all over the world because there is a network at the very foundation. So it is a very much in-demand skill that, in fact, there are not even enough network professionals with the right skills to fill the job demands. So, I mean, I have experienced it currently, even in my current company, where we are hiring for network engineering, and the posting takes about 3 to 4 months, or sometimes 5 months even to get filled, because you just can't get the people with the right skills to fill the roles. So I guess like anybody who decides to go on this path, you know that there are a lot of good opportunities for you, especially in North America, where a lot of demand is placed on, or a lot of value is placed on people with the right technical skills. I see William Budu with your hands up. Do you want to ask a question or?
Yeah, just a quick question. Thanks for sharing on that.
Okay.
And I'm William. I'm the co-founder of Magnolia. Question, in terms of, you mentioned that most organizations would need a network engineer, but in your experience, first of all, what is the typical size of a company that would necessitate having a specific person who's doing network engineering rather than having a generalist? Or does it need to be a specific industry to have a network engineer, or which kind of companies would really need that?
Right, that's a good question. And it's a good question because, I mean, depending on where you find yourself in, some of us work in large companies, some of us work in smaller companies where you are more or less like the generalist. You do computer, PC support, help desk, you have to do the networking there. But as companies grow in size, let's say a company begins to expand geographically and have branches. They have one branch in Accra, one branch in Kumasi, one branch in Tema. Then you realize that the networking needs start to grow up or start to go up. And then even for outside of like corporate, you have internet service providers who are providing internet to a large number of individuals or a large number of customers in those kind of service providers. So when we talk about networking, we have two broad domains. We have the enterprise, which is companies which utilize the networking services. And then we have the service providers, or the ISPs, internet service providers and telecom companies, which provide these networking services to companies to help them like interconnect let's say like their branches together. So in the service provider industry, that place it is mainly network engineers who work in that industry. In the enterprise, that is where you have like the general IT professionals and and specialists depending on the size of the company. But then the larger a company becomes, the more necessary it is to have dedicated people who are doing networking. If you have maybe like a small company of like 5 employees, you just have one office, you might not necessarily need a network engineer dedicated. But if you begin to have like branches, you begin to have more locations, and your staff needs are increasing, and you are offering more services, that is when it becomes necessary to have like a dedicated person for network. So I would say it's more about the growth of the company and the geographic expansion and distribution of the company that would more determine the need for a dedicated like networking professional. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, okay, sure. Anybody else, any other questions, please just raise your hand with the Zoom feature, and then we will listen to your question and answer you the best that we want. So we realize that more and more CIOs, so like chief information officers, people who are the helm of running technology and IT operations within a company, are looking for certain skills, and there are different areas of expertise that are needed. Like, I mean, when it comes to IT, there are a lot of different areas. Outside of network engineering or network administration, you have like, databases, you have like applications, administrators, you have developers, you have, desktop support and Unix administrators, different kinds of specialties. But increasingly, we realize that, or the research has showed that, like, networking is one of the top technical skills in demand by CIOs. And as I was saying, even in my own company, we are like hiring for network engineers, and it's not easy to get them. These roles are open for a good amount of time. So these are skills that are in demand, because as companies become bigger and more complex, the needs also increase for the kinds of skill sets that are needed, and we see that happening a lot in the workspace. So and then these are some of like the salaries in the US, right? And we normally use the US as a benchmark because the US is, should I say, has the biggest opportunity when it comes to technology. Like, the US is the melting pot of technology, and you realize that a lot of the technologies were developed from there, and a lot of the technologies were pioneered there. So when it comes to like opportunities, the US is unmatched worldwide in terms of the available opportunities there, no matter what field of technology that you want to get into. So these are just kind of like a rough idea, in the low, medium, and high ranges of some of the different kinds of roles that are available to someone who wants to get into like the networking space specifically. So in terms of networking and telecoms, these are some of the salaries that you'd be expecting. And I mean, salaries vary depending on like your years of experience, and I mean other things. Like, the more experience you have, the likelihood that you are going to be able to command a higher salary, because like, experience is what makes you valuable, and being able to work with different types of systems, and being able to like having experience with different kinds of environments, and being able to cater to different kinds of needs, all these kind of make you more valued. Now, the difference between North America and maybe back home in Ghana, Africa, is that because we have like very huge companies here who require specialized skills, the more specialized you are, the higher your value is, right? Whereas like back home, we have where people, it's like the more things you can do, the more diverse the things you can do, the more valuable you are, because you're like, oh, this guy, he knows this, he knows that, he knows this, he knows that. But I mean, over here in North America, it's more or less like a specialist word. It's like you want someone who knows networking and who knows it deep and is an expert, and he knows anything and everything about networking. Like, you are the person that would be valued over someone who knows. He knows networking, he knows systems, he knows this, he knows that. So it's like, okay, which one really is your field? Like, which one really are you a master at? There's a saying that what jack of all trades, and I mean, we're popularly told that it's jack of all trades, master of none. But I got to learn that it is actually jack of all trades, master of one. So you're a jack of all trades, but you must be a master at something, and that is depending on what your area of interest is. That one area of mastery is what would bring you the greatest value. And then certification is key, especially when you want to get into IT, any area of IT, especially when it comes to like network engineering. So earlier I shared with you like some of the certificates that I hold. And so these are like, they go from like entry level to intermediate level to like expert level, right? So for example, like the CCNA in routing and switching, CCNA in security. So CCNA stands for like Cisco Certified Network Associate. And so within networking, we have like different areas of specialization. We have like routing and switching, we have security, we have service provider, we have data center, we have service provider. So for each specialization within networking, we have entry, intermediate, and expert levels, right? And certifications at each of these levels. And that is one of the ways by which you can open up opportunities for yourself and grow your capabilities and increase your earning power. Like, there are some companies where you get the certification, it translates to an automatic increase in pay for you, because the pay bands are delineated by the kind of experience and the certifications that you have. So in certain companies, it's like a motivation. Hey, you have your CCNA, you get your CCNP, you're going to get a bump in salary, you're going to get like a promotion or an increase in your pay band. So these are some of the ways, and especially when it comes to recruitment and hiring, these are some of the ways that recruiters and hiring managers use to sift through the pool of candidates. They are like, okay, we have 100 applications for a network engineer, but minimum you should have a CCNA. So all those without CCNA, your CV automatically gets, it gets removed, or it gets taken out of the queue for consideration, because sometimes so many applications come in. These are some of the things that I just use to like sift through the applications and just and also because an increasing number of HR systems, recruitment these days are using technology, what they call ATS, applicants tracking systems. These systems, when you apply to a job, you go to a portal, you submit your CV, it goes into an ATS, and the ATS just scans through your CV looking for certain keywords. Okay, does he have CCNA in his CV? If he doesn't have it, dump the CV. So that is why certifications are so important when it comes to getting into the field and also growing your capabilities and your abilities. So one thing that I say is that you have to be passionate about it, because you have to be passionate about technology. I hear a lot of people say that, oh, we want to go into IT because we hear there's money in it. I don't think money itself, should be your motivation, because if you are not passionate about it, it's easy to become demotivated, right? Because it's hard work. Like working in IT is hard work. Like it's demanding on your time, it's demanding on your efforts. Like you have to spend time to understand the technology, right? You have to spend time to study, you have to spend time to upgrade your knowledge and update yourself in terms of current trends and like learning even the specific environments in which you are working in. It requires a significant amount of commitment, of time and effort. So you need that passion to be really focused on pursuing this field, right? Especially for those who want to switch and transition. Like you really need to be passionate about transitioning. And as we go along, I'll share some experiences of people I know who have transitioned successfully. Recently, I was chatting with a lady who has a background in journalism, almost 6 or 7 or 8 years of journalism, but she's transitioning. And as I was speaking with her, I could just see the passion. I'm like, wow. She asked me a question that she said that she's a bit scared because she doesn't know if she'll be successful. And I'm like, I see your passion. Like you are really passionate, and you've been able to learn an incredible amount of things on your own, and that alone demonstrates your passion. So without passion, without passion, you see some of the textbooks that we have to read. Can you please pick one of just pick one of those? Like we have to read all these big books, and yes, you can pick that one for me or something like that, right? Yeah, if maybe let me just stop the sharing and just show you. If you have to read a book of this size, right, for an exam, it's a fat book, right? And there's just one book out of many. If you have to read this whole book for an exam and you're not passionate about it, it's going to get you very, you're going to get demotivated pretty quickly, right? So you need to have the passion, you need to have the dedication to be able to pursue it and like go all through to be successful. And then you have to know your stuff, code, like understand, like you have to make effort to really understand the technology, right? I have what is known as what I've struck known as a paper tiger, and I've come across a lot of paper tigers in my career, and I'm even having to deal with some of them currently, right? These are people who have certifications. Like they say that, oh, I have the certification on their CV, they have the certificate, but then you find out that they don't actually understand what it is that they claim to have the experience in, right? They don't know it as well as they should to be able to be effective, right? And that's one of the challenges to people who want to get into technology and are not really, able to excel because they don't spend time to understand the material, really well and really good. And then also to keep current, like, as I was saying, you need to keep your knowledge current. You need to read. These are just a few of like the websites and the resources where you can, and when it comes to like IT resources, there are so many of them. I'll be sharing some of them as we go along. So many free resources, like back in the day. So how I got into network engineering was when I was in school in KNUST in the second year. This was somewhere like 2005, they're about, we had a seminar that was organized for us by some gentlemen who were at that time working in KNUST, what they call the NOC, the Network Operations Center. They were actually setting it up, right? And I happened to know one of them from back home, Julius Richardson. And, like every day I would see him where, like, he was kind of, I think he was doing his national service at that time. And I would see him every day with his bag and then, going and coming. And one day I just started to talk to him. I'm like, Julius, like, what is this? What do you do? When he was telling me that, oh, we are setting up the NOC at KNUST and it's networking. And I was really interested. And it was like, you know what? Technology is so cool that all the information that you need is out there and you can get it for free. And the interesting thing about it is that the information is the same, whether you are in Ghana, whether you are in America, whether you are in Singapore, whether you are in China or India. IT is IT, networking is networking all over the world. It is the same everywhere, right? So the knowledge that you acquire in Ghana puts you at par with someone who works in America or someone in India or Canada. And he was like, wow. Like he told me that and he got me thinking, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And he said, yeah, books, the same book that someone in America is using, you have access to that same book in Ghana. So there is no reason why you should not be as knowledgeable as them because you have access to the same information. And so they organized a seminar and they spoke to us about opportunities in networking and, they talked about the CCNA and how you can get certified. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. I think this is what I want to do. Like at that moment, I was convinced that this is what I want to do. And that's why, like, right out of school, like we finished school I think we wrote our last exams in May or June. Yeah, we did our last exams in May. June, we did our graduation. And then immediately after graduation, I said, let me give myself some 2 weeks break. And then I started studying for the CCNA. And so by October, I had passed the CCNA and I started my national service in December. So by the time I was doing my national service, I had my CCNA and I got into the company and there were so many people there. Actually, maybe when I got into the company, no one at that time had their CCNA. And I was like, wow, who's this new guy, national service guy who has come, who's got a CCNA? And the managers were like, oh, wow, you got a CCNA. Okay, so that means you can do this. They were like, oh, can you do this? I was like, yeah, I can do it. They were like, okay, try this. Then I'll do it. Then they'll give me more work. They were like, oh, okay, you've done well. You can do this. So that's how it started, right? And it was like a lot of, that investment that I've spent after school to kind of get into it, like started paying off. Like I started getting jobs and assignments that people who had been in the company maybe like 10 years weren't getting. I remember I got to travel to Nigeria to go and do some work there. And then they sent me to Liberia to go and do some work there. And this was someone who was like new in the company. I think at the time that I traveled to those places, I had finished my national service and I'd come on as a full-time staff, but I'd been in the company for just like a year. But they were bypassing people who had been there for many years because they were just happy to sit at the desk or to sit at the help desk and take calls from customers, and they weren't pushing themselves to study. But I said, I want to know more. I want to learn as much as possible. So I got the opportunities that came my way. I mean, there were certain opportunities that came my way that I couldn't take advantage of because I didn't have the enough knowledge and I didn't have certain certifications, right? And these were like, I mean, this was the time I was working in Africa Online. And at that time, we were in like, Africa Online was in a number of countries, Ghana, Kenya. So there were group roles, like not Ghana roles, but like a group role for like a network engineer. And they required this certification and that certification. And I didn't have it. And I was like, wow, opportunities have passed me by because I didn't know certain things and I didn't have certain certifications. So that's what, encouraged me and drove me to like even do more certifications as much as I did. So hands-on is so key. Like you need to get the hands-on knowledge, not just like reading books, but also getting the hands-on as much as possible, because the work that we do is like hands-on. Like you log onto a device, you have to type in commands and you have to know what the commands you are typing in are doing. Otherwise you end up breaking the system. And in your career as, in IT or specifically as a network engineer, you will definitely have some stories of times where you've broken things. I have so many of them. If I want to start talking about them, like we'll sit on this call like the whole afternoon, but you need to get that hands-on knowledge as much as possible. And there are tools that can help you to get that knowledge, such as like, Packet Tracer, which we'll be using for the workshop today. We have like iOS on Linux, VMware, GNS3. These are all different tools that you can use to practice your networking skills. And then the amazing thing about these tools is that it's the same like syntax, it's the same commands that you would encounter in the real world, right? So even if you do not have access to like real equipment to practice on, you can use these simulation tools, and they give you the same level of knowledge, the same level of expertise, the same level of competence as someone who has access to real equipment. I'm going to show you a picture of my real equipment that I had the time that I was preparing for the CCIE. I mean, because of the level of advancement, like it's a high level exam. It's an expert level exam. So like you need certain things to practice for it, and none of the virtualized, or let's say the software platforms would work. So at that level back at that time, you needed to get like real equipment, and I had to buy some from the US, have it shipped down to me, and that's what I was using to prepare for the CCIE. So yeah, this was the home lab that I had. This cost me about $3,000 at that time. So I remember, I think it was my bonus from work that I had gotten. I just converted all of it to USD, and then I sent it to US for someone to purchase it for me, and that's what I used to practice during that time. So so imagine having all these. Why? Okay, I think I know why. Imagine having all these equipment like sitting in your home, using up electricity, making noise. It used to make my room very hot because these machines will like generate a lot of heat and stuff like that. But then it's paid off. So it was a good investment of my money and my resources back then, because it's paid off like many times over. So yeah, these are some of the should I say this is the pathway to success if you are willing to put in the work and if you are willing to learn what you need to learn. But I mean, you don't need a home lab. Today, if I were to do it all over again, I wouldn't go down this path of buying this, because now things have become more advanced. We have more advanced platforms that you can run on your laptop or on your computer that can give you the same level of complexity that having these devices would give you, right? So when it comes to like career development and progression, as I said already, passion helps to determine your path, and also focus. Like you need to be focused, right? Focus, as someone has said, is an acronym that stands for what? Follow one course until successful. Follow one course. If this is what you really want to do, you have to follow it until you are successful, right? It's not that you start in this and then along the way you get distracted, you move into something else, and then you hear that, because these days when it comes to technology, there are a lot of like emerging fields, and there are a lot of things that are like hot fields or in demand. So if it's networking you want to focus on networking. Nowadays, there's like data science has become popular, machine learning is popular, cloud is popular, cybersecurity is popular. These are all different paths, but then whatever path it is that you choose to follow, you must focus on it until you are successful. Don't start with networking, then along the way stop and say that, oh, I'm going to do programming. Then you do programming a little. Oh, I've heard machine learning. Oh, I've heard artificial intelligence. Oh, I've heard this, I've heard that. If you are not focused, you will not be successful. So choose your path and focus on that path. Choose the path that you want to walk along, and follow it until you are successful in that path. And then also, once you get into the field, exposure to different environments and industries. I've worked in like 10 different companies, right? So I've worked in different environments. I've worked in the telecom sector. I've worked in the service provider sector. I've worked in banking. I've worked in like software development. I've worked in like different kinds of environments and industries. So that enriches, is part of my experience. Like when I sit in the enterprise space, and I'm talking to someone in the service provider space, or I'm talking to one of our service providers, I know what I'm talking about because I've worked in the ISP before. I know how things work behind the scenes, right? So you cannot go over my head with like terminologies and bamboozle me with non-factual things, because I have worked there before. I know how things work there. I know what needs to be done, and I'm able to like synthesize information and piece together some information to tell you that this is what the challenge is, or this is exactly how we need to go about this, right? And then also ways that you can get experience or get into the field is through internship, volunteering, and pro bono work. Pro bono work that you don't charge for, right? I remember back in the days when I think maybe I was even still in school, but during the vacation, there was an opportunity to do some internship at that time with Vodafone, and I was a student. This was many years before I even worked there. And the person who told me about the opportunity said that, oh, like, how much do you want to be paid? And I kept on mentioning some high figure because I didn't know better. I mean, and there is one of my mentors, there's a saying that he says that, I mean, he said that a little knowledge is very dangerous, right? Just having a little knowledge about something is very dangerous because you end up ignorantly thinking that you know a lot when you actually don't know a lot. And the saying that the more you know, the more you realize you don't know is so true, especially when it comes to technology. The more you understand how things work, the more you get to appreciate the complexity behind certain things. And you realize that actually I don't even know anything at all because there are so many parts to this thing. I only know this little part. I only know this little part. So let me remain humble and learn, right? And sometimes you have to work for free. So I lost this opportunity because I was shooting too high when I didn't have that level of expertise and that level of knowledge. And on hindsight, I was like, that was a very immature and very, unwise decision. Sometimes you have to volunteer to work for free. You want to learn about something, go to a company and tell them that, hey, can you just give me a chance to just come and, observe and work with you guys? Don't even pay me. I'll take care of my transportation and everything. I mean, sometimes they might offer you something, like you have an internship somewhere, they might offer you something little, but be willing to work for free. And maybe on weekends, someone, does some IT work somewhere. Say that, oh, on weekends, can I go with you to some of your project sites? Can I come and look over your shoulder for free? Right. And that's how you get the experience that you need so that, you can later on, when you have enough experience, you can call for, the big bucks. There's a saying that I love. It says that first you learn, LEARN, and then after that, after you have learned, you take away the L, and what do you have left? You have EARN, you earn, right? So first you learn, you take away the L, and then you earn. Okay, so I see a hand raised. Is it Paul? KP from Paul?
Paul.
Okay, go ahead. Sure.
But I wanted to know whether there's a space around you in case someone wants to learn from you. Is there any space that you can accommodate the person?
Yeah, I mean, for the kind of work that I do currently, I mean, yes, there is. I mean, I know you are interested in the field, so there are things that I can definitely show you, right, about the work that we do. So let's discuss. I think now it's easier to do that if and I mean the good thing nowadays too is that we have remote work, so you can literally sit by me and watch me work the whole day without going into the office with me, right? Because if it was coming into my office to work with me, that's not going to happen because you are not an employee. So you won't even at the bottom. But like there are definitely opportunities to look over my shoulder as I work and explain how things are. So yeah, let's discuss that and let's see how that's possible, right?
All right, okay, bro. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. And that goes to the next point. People networking and mentorship is so important. Like there are people that when I started out, I was looking up to. I mean, I received some disappointments along the way. There were people who straight up told me, no, I'm not interested in helping you, or I can't mentor you, like, things like that. So, but there were people who were also willing and they said, yeah, sure, I can show you the ropes. I can show you where to go. Or as they say now, they can show you the way. They showed me the way, right? They showed me the way. They pointed me to like opportunities. Like there are people who have been really so instrumental in my career. Like one of my former managers, Alex came to organize like a workshop, or he came to organize more or less like a boot camp, a training when I was in school. That's when I got to meet him. At that time, he was working at Bank of Ghana or Ghana Commercial Bank, one of those places. And then he helped me get National Service in Africa online. He shared my CV with the technical manager, got me an interview, and then he moved on to work to Fidelity Bank. And then I got the opportunity to work with him directly. And while I was when I was working with him at Fidelity Bank, after a while, he told me that, hey, I've seen an opportunity at Standard Chartered Bank, and I think it will be really good for you. And that's like a good mentor, someone who is willing to release you from under their fold to send you on to an opportunity that will be bigger than you. My manager actually came to tell me that, hey, I've seen an opportunity somewhere else that I think will be really good for you and for your career aspirations, looking at the trajectory that you want to follow. So I think you should go for it. So my boss actually sent a job, like a CV, a job opening my way. I applied, I got the job. He blessed me, and then he sent me on. And I mean, till today, I still keep relationship with him. Even coming to Canada, the opportunity, he presented it to me first. He told me about Canada and said that, hey, the opportunities in Canada, is it something you'd be interested in check out? I said, yeah, sure, why not? And today we are here. So, yep. when it comes to like your CV too, very important, keep it updated and relevant. Depending on where you are in your career, there are certain ways that you can present your CVs. It's like someone who's trying to transition, your CV should be different from someone who's in the field and is looking to maybe like progress or get into more senior roles, right? And then have a plan for progression. Like, yeah, what's the plan? Like, you should have a plan, especially if you are transitioning, that, okay, these are the kind of companies that I'm going to be targeting, and your progression plan comes back to people networking and mentorship and getting in contact with the people that can, open the door for you and help you put your foot in and all of that. And yeah, all those things help. And then finally, for those who are religious or for those who are spiritual, I say pray. And that has been a central part of my journey that I cannot, discard. That it's been just like a lot of the grace of God. I mean, if I go into details and I tell you about my story, you'll be like, wow, this one is is God. It's only God, right? Because meeting certain people at the right times, having access to certain opportunities at the right time is like divine timing, as we'll put it. So if you are the religious kind of person, then pray about your career development and your progression, because as we say, it's nyamensa womb, right? There's that aspect too as well. It's not only about your knowledge and your skill and your expertise, but then there's that aspect, that divine aspect too. That is what I believe in. That is what has worked for me and continues to work for me. So I can only recommend what has worked for me, right? So I'm looking at the time. We are getting into the second hour, and I would like us to go into the hands-on bit or answer some questions for those who would have some. So yes, this is something that I shared from my LinkedIn like some time ago. This 4 years ago, about people who have like successfully transitioned, and I've seen it over and over and over again. So this one is about a barber who became a network engineer, right? And I remember like one very profound instance like this was the time I was working in Africa Online. There was a security guard in church, right? That I used to see, like he was like a night security guard, and I would see him like reading and studying and all. And one day I approached him, I'm like what's up with you? And it's like, oh, he was reading to like better his SSC grades at that time or something. And he said he was also interested in IT and he was interested in networking. And so I was like, oh, yeah, sure. If it's something that you are really interested in, I can see if maybe you can come to do an internship or something in my company. So I ended up like recommending him. He came for an interview. He got the job. He moved up like from the help desk into network engineering. And I mean, yeah, I remember him inviting me to his wedding, and I was sitting there. I'm like, wow, this guy has really done well for himself, from a nice security guard to a network engineer, and he got married many years even before I got married. Like he was doing well. You could see that like the guy was doing well, and I was happy that certain stories like people have the opportunity to transform their lives that way. In a former company that I was, there were people who they were like, oh, I used to be a baker. I was a baker for like 10, 12 years, and now I'm getting into IT. There was even someone who had a PhD in chemistry, and this person had come and decided to switch into IT. And I was like, wow, like you get to hear so many success stories of people who have been able to switch from a totally unrelated industry. I told you about, earlier about someone that I'm talking to who has a background in journalism, who is trying to also get into IT and get into network engineering specifically. So yes, I know in the beginning, Erikwa, you mentioned about, trying to transition from the energy sector into IT, and yeah, you can do it. Like you literally can do it no matter what your background is. One thing I've even come to realize is that a lot of the people who are really good in IT, when you go deep down, you realize that even their backgrounds, they didn't do anything like IT. Like one of the guys that I used to really admire and respect back in the day, he has like a bachelor's degree in like sociology or something like that, right? Some of the very good people that I knew were people who have come from like maybe chemistry or journalism or like some totally unrelated field, but then they got to a point where they decided that, you know what, I'm switching careers because of so many reasons, and today they are doing well for themselves. So if you are here on this call and you are looking to transition, well, the sky is the limit, as they say. And then this was also something that I took from my LinkedIn. In 2019, I had the opportunity to attend Cisco Live. So Cisco Live in the US, Cisco Live is like an annual conference for networking professionals, right? And I mean, Cisco Live is something that I followed in my career, but then I actually got the opportunity to attend Cisco Live. This was held in San Diego, in the US in 2019. And it was like should I say, it was like the apex or one of the highest points of my career, because I was getting to meet people that I was reading their books, So this picture is a bit blurry, but then this gentleman here, he's one of like the well-known Cisco book authors, Kevin Wallace. Like, I got to meet people that I've been watching like their videos and things, like people who I use their material to train and advance my knowledge when I was coming up, and I was gaining my experience, and it was such an awesome experience to just be in an environment where there were about 30 to 40,000 networking professionals, and I was like, wow, this is like a really powerful, a really profound moment where you are able to connect with people who are all in the same industry, right? And we are able to like come together, and you can just feel the energy there, and it's like there's so much there that you see. I met some Ghanaians as well. Some of the people that I put in the former slide are some of the pace setters. These are people that I never met, but I knew of them. But I had the chance to like meet with them and talk with them and share ideas and share contacts. So it's just been like an awesome journey, and it's been a fulfilling journey at that too. So nothing goes without challenges. Whatever it is that you want to make progress in, these are some of the challenges that you would have to contend with. Maybe you are a full-time worker, but then you have to add steady into your schedule. It's a challenge, because some of us also might have families and children, and the time I did a lot of my certifications, I wasn't even married, so it was easier for me. But then there are people now who have families and have other like commitments, who want to still pivot, but it's possible, right? It's possible. I know people in the field, network engineering, who are like, what, I was studying for my final exam from the labor room, and my wife was giving birth, or like my wife was having a surgery, or my husband was doing one thing or the other time. But these people found time to be able to add studying to their full-time work, and they were able to like transition and make a change in their lives. Financial and economic challenges. Like back when I was in Ghana, the first certification exam that I took, the CCNA, my sister had to pay for it, because I mean, she was living in the US and I was in Ghana, and like I just didn't have money to take that exam. So I think at that time it was about $375. I didn't have that money. Someone had to pay for me. But as I got employment, I was able to pay for some of these exams by myself. But now with the way exchange rates are going, it's going to be difficult, because I mean, now I don't know how much, let's say even the entry-level CCNA maybe might be costing about $400 now.
It's 300.
It's 300. Okay. Yeah. So $300. If you're in Ghana with the CD, I don't know what the CD to the dollar exchange rate is currently. I don't know, 12. But that's like 3,000.
Around 12.
It's around 12. Yeah. So that's like what? Almost 4,000 CDs. Like how many people have 4,000 CDs to spend on a certification exam, right? So those are some of the real challenges. I mean, for me, I was focused, and I knew this is what I wanted to do. So I had to make sacrifices. As I said, like I got my bonus from work. I immediately went to send a wire transfer so that I could get equipment. So imagine, like, you don't get to use your bonus for anything, for any enjoyment, right? You don't get to, as you say, you don't get to chop some. Everything goes back into your career, right? When I did the CCIE, I was in Ghana, and when I put my total cost together, it cost me almost $14,000 to get the CCIE, because I had to buy equipment. I had to travel to Dubai twice. The first time, I ignorantly and foolishly went to buy Emirates. I went to buy Emirates tickets that cost like $1,600. I went to buy it. I remember very well, their office at Movenpick. For those of you who are familiar, it was like 6,000 cedis. I went to put it down to buy an airfare. Later, a friend advised me, it's like, if you're traveling to Dubai, you don't have to go to Emirates. You can go cheaper. You can fly with Kenya Airways, so eventually the second time I flew with Rwanda Air was way, way, way cheaper, right? But those were some of the sacrifices that I had to make. And the exam itself cost $1,600. I had to take the exam twice, because the first time I didn't pass. So that's like $3,000. And this is earning CD, so I wasn't earning dollars. So imagine the amount of, money that had to go in. So that can be a real challenge. But then if you are focused and you are able to, commit some good funds to it, you'll be able to make it. And then also things like infrastructural development, like we don't have that kind of we don't have as many large companies, back home as would give as many of us the opportunity that would want to get into the industry. But then still there are ways to get to, if you don't work there are ways to still get around that barrier, and like psychological barriers. Like sometimes you even think that it is not possible to do some of these things, or it is not possible to transition. Those are some things that you have to kind of overcome your fears, and sometimes it's a risk that you have to take, right? It's like, oh, I'm leaving something that I know to get into something that is unknown, right? Social support system. Some of us have families, we have spouses, we have children, and what kind of support will they be giving to you? Because sometimes some of these endeavors, it takes your time. Like you need to be focused on it, so you might not have time to be socializing. I remember there were times where I was studying, it was like for a very long time. Weekends when, depending on where you live, you have a lot of social activities, weddings and things. I missed so many of my friends' weddings and weekend activities, because in the weekends, like from morning till evening, I'm studying, right? No break, morning to evening. So it got to a time like people who were not even seeing me. They're like, you haven't seen me for a while. I'm like, yeah. Like I'm wild. Like I'm focusing on something. I have something that I'm working towards. So I cannot be as socially engaged or as involved as I used to be previously. And for people who have families, people who are married, there are times where these endeavors have broken or impacted their marriages, because it's like, no, the spouse is not supportive. So if you are always studying, you more or less are not having time for them and stuff like that, it becomes a challenge. So you need that kind of social support system for your spouse to know that, okay, for the next 3 months, I'm going to be, less available because I'm going to be studying. And, I hope you understand and you are able to, take up some of the responsibilities that have to be, done and all of that. So yeah. And then finally, as I always say, follow one course until successful. Like focus is so important, and you need to be focused. I cannot emphasize that enough. You really need to be focused until you are successful, and then that would be your pathway to success. So thank you very much. You can contact me through any of these media, email. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a blog, or let's say, yeah, I have a blog, but I'm not as active as I used to be. But then if you look for this, I think the URL has actually, I haven't registered it for a while, but if you search for networkandanswer.com, you will have the WordPress site there. I have some of my writings there. Maybe Paul, I know I sent you one of the links recently. If you could find it and post it in the chat, at least that sends you to the blog. You can read some of my writings about switching, getting into IT, some of my experiences as a network engineer, and Cisco Champions blog too. So Cisco Champions is a program that is organized by Cisco every year, where people who are working with Cisco technologies get the chance to become Cisco champions. So it's like the Cisco ambassadors, right? So for a number of years, I got to be I was part of the Cisco Champions program. I've come on Cisco Champion Radio. I wrote some blog articles for them and stuff like that. So all that information is out there for you to peruse and reach out to me. So I've come to the end of my presentation for the first hour. Maybe if there are any questions, I can take them before we go into the next session. So yeah, thank you very much, and I hope you have learned something from my presentation. So Esther, do I send it back to you, or if there's anyone who has any questions?
Yeah, I think we have two people, William and then Paul. They have questions.
Okay, all right, sure.
Yeah, also to thinking your presentation, you mentioned I think once or twice you talked about site visits and stuff like that. So I assume there's still a physical aspect or component of network engineering. So my question is, are there any network engineers that are able to work 100% remotely, or you would say hardly?
Oh yes, for sure. So what I say is that for networking, we have the high end and we have the low end, right? So at the low end, or maybe let me not even say low end, because that is the career trajectory for some people, where they are like, let's say, data center techs, right? So let's say in the kind of work that I do not go into like data centers. I do not install equipment. There are people whose job it is to install like switches, install routers, to do cabling work and stuff like that. At a point in my career, or depending on where I was working, I've done both like the high end, configuration and high level stuff, as well as the low level physical, have to go into a server room, you have to go into a data center, that kind of stuff. But then I think the more complex or the bigger a company is and the more specialization there is, that is where it gives the opportunity for people to work like 100% remote, right? So, I mean, like, yeah, it's one of the good areas where you can find like 100% remote jobs. Like, I know a lot of people that work 100% remote. I have done 100% remote for a while, but currently my role is a bit of a hybrid role, which I like, right? I like to get into the office sometimes to be able to like just focus on work and be able to also collaborate with some of my other colleagues as well. So yeah, it's one of the definitely is one of the areas where you are able to get access to like 100% remote roles, if that's what it is you are looking for. Although I might say that's probably going to come later on when you are more experienced, or depending on the kind of company that you are, you get to work in. But most of the time when you are starting out in your career, it's good to be able to have like physical contacts. It's good to be able to know what you are working with, to go into a data center and see how equipment is installed and see how cabling is done. It's good to know some of those things, so that later on in your career, when you are more experienced, at least you have that perspective and that experience to even guide someone who is like working on site while you are working remotely, to be able to do exactly what it is that you want them to do. So yeah, that would be my response for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Paul, did you have a question? Yeah.
Okay, no, I didn't have any questions. So I think it was for my first question that I asked, but then I've been able to post your blog into the chat group so anyone can look from there and then read through.
Right. Okay. Sure. Yes. Thank you very much for doing that. Any other questions? I think some people joined who after we did the introduction. So maybe if you have some questions or you missed something from the beginning, you will be able to ask now, right? Yeah. Okay. No one else? All right. John, okay, go ahead.
Please, I want to ask this question. I tried to take the CCNA last year. I actually started with it, and everything became overwhelming, and I just had to pause. So I just wanted to know, during your time when you also wanted to write, did you go through such phase, like where you were planning towards writing, at that point everything became overwhelming, then you just have to pause? Maybe.
Is it that the preparation became overwhelming in terms of the material or other?
Yes, the material and working at the same time, studying for the CCNA.
Yeah, and I put in I had a challenge. I had a slide in there about some of the challenges of trying to get into the field, is some of like the competing demands. And I mean, the material itself, you need time. You need to spend time with it. I remember when I was preparing for the CCNA, I had just finished school, so this was between like completing and national service, so I had time. I wasn't working, right? So I had to print out, like I had to actually print out. I had a PDF of the certification guide, so I had to print it out. And then every day, I literally was studying with like 2 laptops, because my own laptop didn't have like the kind of processor power that was necessary to be able to like, run some of these simulation programs. So I think I had borrowed I think my mother's laptop or something like that. So I literally was studying with 2 laptops. I have one laptop for my simulation, and then the other laptop for the videos and for, the material. And every day, like I'll take my bicycle and then I'll ride. I was living on the University of Ghana campus, so I would ride to somewhere on campus where it's quiet, and then I'll study for a long while. But then if you are working, work is demanding. So those times when I was working, I mean, what the strategy that I used to use when I wasn't driving was when I get into the Trotsky in the public transport, that is where I do my studying. Like there was literally the time when I was studying for the CCIE, I had like 160 videos of tutorials. Like there was like a series training videos, 160 of them. And I watched all of them like literally on Trotsky rides to the office. I get into the Trotsky ride from Legon. By the time I get to Kwame Nkrumah Circle or Ridge, I would have watched maybe like 2 videos, or some of the videos were really long, like 1 hour videos. But at least every day in the Trotsky, I'll be watching the videos, and then bit by bit, I realized I'm done with all the videos. And like, I used that strategy. I had bought an iPad. I had invested in an iPad. So you have to be strategic to steal little time here, little time there. You have to adjust your life. And when it becomes overwhelming, reach out to the community for support. I mean, one of the biggest advantages for me using social media was also getting to connect with a large group of professionals, especially on like when I got into Twitter at first. It was like I actually had 2 like Twitter accounts. One was for like professional stuff, and the other was like, for general stuff. So my professional account, like I was following all these people, reading information from them, asking them questions, responding to their tweets. I will get people responding to me. Back in the day, I used LinkedIn exclusively, like extensively, to connect with a lot of people in the field. So whenever I was stuck or I was feeling overwhelmed, I had someone that I could go to and tell them that, hey, I'm having a challenge with this topic. I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me? And, it's also good if you have like a steady partner, like 1 or 2 people who are also on the same path with you, and you can bounce questions off each other. You can help each other out when it comes technically. And I mean, those times where I was in groups, those times when Skype was popular, I was in Skype study groups. When you have a challenge, someone will say that, oh, let me have a session with you, share your screen. Okay, let's see the challenge you are having, and they'll work with you to troubleshoot and figure out things. So use the community, use the technical community that is available out there to help get the help that you need. And when you feel overwhelmed, sometimes you just need to like take a break, like a day or 2. But as I said, focus, follow one course until you are successful. Don't give up. There are times where you need to be you need encouragement from others. Yeah, that's good. That's why I talked about like a social support system where some of your family members, or you are married or something, that support is very important for you to have to be successful. So I mean, now with Telegram, there are some Telegram groups that I'm on. You have thousands of people. You can literally ask any question at all. It's like now, hey, go to a time, it's like Cisco Telegram group, this Juniper Telegram group, like it's like literally Windows, Linux, like every technology. There are Telegram groups with thousands of people from all over the world from whom you can draw from their experience. So do not be discouraged. Once again, if there's something that you really want, right, you have to be willing to focus on it. You said you are working with what, MBNS at Huawei?
Yes, MDNS.
Yeah. MBNS, what's that? Is that Managed Data Network Services or?
Yes, the Managed Data Network Services.
Yeah, so at least you are kind of like in the field where you have some kind of like exposure. So you have to be like willing to learn on the job and even go beyond your area of work, right? I know some of the guys back in the day when I was in Ghana, I used to like also hold boot camps and train people. So I did a boot camp in tech once. I've done like 2 others in Accra. One of the guys, I mean, like, yeah, he was a student in tech. He joined the boot camps, and I mean, this guy has been focusing and faithfully like following it. And currently, like recently, I was having a chat with him, and I was telling like the guy is doing well. When I look at his salary, Charlie sitting in Ghana earning 5 figures monthly. I'm like, wow, this guy he's killing it, right? So you need to focus. You need to, and this guy used to work with Huawei. So like you need to focus, and if you are passionate about it, you focus and learn as much as you can on the job, learn and become an expert and so good at what you do that you become the go-to person. And learning is painful, but as I said, if you are putting in the work, you learn, you can take away the L, and you can start earning some good money and start getting some good results from from all the effort that you are putting in. So don't give up, right? If you want motivation, reach out to me. I can jump on a call and I'll inject you with motivation and you'll be able to finish. But if you are focusing on the CCNA, please try and finish it, because that's where it all begins from, right? So I know Paul is also focusing on the CCNA as well. So yeah, you can have a steady buddy. Both of you can learn and bounce ideas off each other and encourage each other to make it to the finish line. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your advice.
You're welcome. All right. Okay. Anyone else? Internet cost too is draining. No, but I mean, you necessarily do not need internet to be able to study these things. Like some of these things, you download them once and you are done. Like Cisco Packet Tracer that we are going to look at soon. You download it once. The videos, you can get the videos on like USB stick, so that it's not like you have to stream from YouTube, right? So I had a friend who mailed me a USB stick with some videos. I think I just saw it today. Yeah. He mailed me, there's like a 32 gig USB drive that he mailed me with videos on it. So no internet. All I need is a computer. I just put it in and then we are good to go. So I mean, back in the day when I was studying, we didn't have internet even to stream like that. So it's like everything was like, Charlie, make account pull on for my hard drive topo, It was like copying videos and on pen drives and hard drives, and that's what we used to study. So please do not let internet be a hindrance to you. You don't have to consume everything like real time. You can download some of the things once and then have the option to rewatch them anytime. So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of material. So if anyone here is interested in any material, just let me know. I would, I'll be happy to share them with you, and then you just download them once. And yes, Adam says there are YouTube channels with good stuff now too. Yes, but the challenge is being able to stream YouTube. Like some of the courses that I'm going to introduce you to, they are about, you can download them and study. So I'll say that rather than streaming the YouTube videos, when you find a YouTube video, just download it so that at least you have it once and you don't have like a recurring cost. It does not become a monthly recurring cost. It can be like just a one-time cost to get the information, and then you can utilize it as many times as possible. Yeah. All right. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I think at this time let's take like a 2 or 3 minute break. Esther, what do you think?
We can do that.
We can do that. Okay, so let's take like a 3 minute break and then we'll come back. So that let me drink some some tea to to moisturize my throat and then we'll be back. All right. So yeah, we'll be back in what? How many? 2 minutes? 3 minutes?
3 minutes is fine.
3 minutes. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Right. So will you play some music on the background or?
I'll see how I can entertain them.
Yeah. No, I have some music. I can play some music there. So
okay, yeah, great. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Yeah.
Practice network, Internet of Things, and cybersecurity. With Packet Tracer, you apply real network building skills and gain valuable experience on your very own computer with no hardware needed. Cisco Packet Tracer is an incredibly powerful learning tool with multiple modes that enable you to explore the vast world of networking. In simulation mode, you dive into how a network really works. You create a logical view of your network, configure your devices, and follow how data packets travel across your network. You can even explore what's inside each packet for deeper insight. After that, physical mode puts you in the virtual lab to see how your logical view translates into physical devices and cables. You'll practice setting up your own device rack and selecting the right cables and ports. Packet Tracer has a built-in intelligent tutor as well to give you hints along the way, but only if you want them. Once you have the hang of it, take your abilities even further by creating advanced networks with IoT devices, integrating Python code, or practicing your network automation skills. The best part is Cisco Packet Tracer is absolutely free. It's easy to ramp up with our short Getting Started with Cisco Packet Tracer course. Try it out today at skillsforall.com. Brought to you by Cisco Networking Academy.
Yeah, so that's like the nice and short intro, and then you would then have to download the Cisco Packet Tracer. So this is the URL. I'll put it in the chat so that those of us who can like create accounts and access the Cisco Packet Tracer, you'd be able to do so. So basically, you download it, you install it, and then you run it, right? So I am using a Mac. So if you are Windows, if you are like more or less like have access to Windows, you download it and install it just like you would any software program, and then on the Mac you'll be able to run it. This is how it looks like, Cisco Packet Tracer. So you start the program to do its little dance there at the bottom, and then it will open it up. So let's see. Taking a while, but patience. One of the things that you have to learn in networking or in IT is patience, because there are times where you work on things for a very long time before they actually get to work. So yeah, so basically this is how Cisco Packet Tracer looks like. You have this workspace, which is kind of like your it's like a blank sheet where you begin to design and set up like your networks to aid in your studies, right? So when it comes to networking, there are basically two types of devices. We have a router and a switch. Not to go too deep, but basically routers are used to interconnect, let's say, different locations. So if you want to connect Accra to Kumasi, you need a router, right? Switches are more or less used to enable people within one location to connect. So let's say if you sit in an office and you have like you have like, maybe you can have, these days most offices use wireless networking, right? It's the same principle that applies, right, when it comes to wired networking with wires. But you would most likely have like a computer, and that computer would be connecting to a switch, right? So here you have like the different kinds of devices, right? You have the end devices, so like a PC, a laptop, a server. You can pull all of those onto the panel. And then we have the network devices, right? So these are different types of network devices, different models. So these are routers, right? So depending on, and when you get into networking, you realize that when you are designing a network, depending on the capacity of the network, that will determine the kind of devices that you will be using. So if you are designing a network, or if you are building a network for an office of 5 people, the requirements in terms of the equipment that you choose will be different from building an office network that will support 5,000 people, right? So, I mean, like, yeah, depending on what you are doing, you would be selecting, or depending on whatever it is that you are designing, you'll be selecting a different type of like a router or a switch. So as I said, a router is used to connect, like, let's say, different locations together. So yeah, let's say we are building a small 2-office network. We will use a Cisco 1941 router, not too big, not too small. So I'll bring 2 of that here. And then we have the switches. So the switches are like, what I was saying was that if you are in an office and you have like, network cables running to your computers, all the cables from the computer are going to connect into like a switch. A switch is like, a switch combines all those different network cables, connections coming from your computer into one device, right? Into one device like this, right? So you have a link from this device to this device. And then this is the icon for the different kinds of connections or links, right? So when it comes to connections, as you go into the details, you realize that there are like different kinds of connections, right? And when you hover over it, you see the description here, right? As you go deeper, you learn about different kinds of connections and different kind of cables. If you don't have that level of knowledge, you can just use this one, which says automatically choose connection type, right? So it means, okay, whatever the connection type is, I can just pick it. I click on this device, and then I click on this. Oh, people cannot be connected to that port. Okay, yeah. And then I connect it to the switch like this. So you just point and click, right? I come to this device, I click on it, and then I connect it to the switch. I come again, I connect this one, I connect the PC, and I connect it to the switch. So the way the switch is that it has a number of different ports. Let me see if I can get a physical view of it, right? Let me click on this device. Yes. This is how the switch looks like in reality. Can I zoom in? Yes, very good. Let me maximize it. So this is how the switch would actually look like in the real life. You see a device, a rectangular device like this. This is the front. And then you see a number of multiple ports, or what we call like network ports. So every computer would have a cable coming from the computer and connecting into one port like this. Every computer connects into one port till it is full. Depending on the needs of your network, the switches can have different numbers of ports. So this is like a 24 port, and then the different devices have different names. So for Cisco, their switches mostly are called Catalyst, right? So you have the name, and then you have the specific model number. So this is a Cisco Catalyst 2960 switch, right? It's a switch that is used in like small, like mostly in the office environments, right? So let's get this back into, how do I zoom out? Original size? Oh no. Let's see. Yeah, I can close this. So once you connect it to this, every port has a name. When you are configuring the device, every port has a name. So if you can see, we have fast Ethernet 0/1, 0/2, like, so it's like port 1, port 2, port 3, port 4. And the way it is, each port can be configured with different properties depending on the device that it is connected to, right? So each device is connecting to a unique port. So if you hover over this connection point here, you see that, okay, a port on the server is going to port 1 on the switch. The laptop is going to port 2 on the switch. The PC is going to port 3. Yeah, port 3 on the switch, and so forth and so on until the switch is fully connected, in which case you need to buy a second switch to allow for more connections, right? So basically, I mean, when you are beginning with a packet tracer, you can just use this tool to just know which kind of connection to make between the devices, right? Because when it comes to certain devices, you need certain types of cables, right? But we don't want to bother ourselves with that for today. We just know that, okay, we are interconnecting the devices. So what happens is that all the different computers will be connecting to one switch, and then the switch will connect to the router, because the router is what is going to help us to connect between. So all of this is one office location, and this will be in, so let's say this is Accra, and let's say this is what, Kumasi. So you have one router sitting here in Accra, you have one router sitting between Kumasi, and then in between the routers, you have what we known as maybe like a long distance link. And that is where like an internet service provider or a telecom company can come in. So different kinds of technologies can be used between these two devices, but the way that it works, let's say logically, is as if you have one router connecting, we have a cable connecting this router from in Kumasi directly, this is Accra. You have a direct cable connection from Accra all the way to Kumasi. But behind the scene in the middle, you will have like a service provider. Yeah, normally it is represented using a cloud, right? It is normally represented using kind of like a cloud connection. So like, the internet or a service provider represented using the cloud, because we don't really see what is happening behind the scenes, but we know that there is something happening there. If you look at network diagrams, you normally see it represented as a cloud. So I will just do a direct cable connection and let me just remove this from here. And then we'll do another direct cable connection between this side, between this, thought I clicked on it. Yeah, between this computer. Where does it keep? Oh, sorry. supposed to be clicking here. Between this router and this router, connecting the two locations. And then we can repeat the same setup as we have in Accra, also in Kumasi. So I'll just go through this quickly. Let's see, network devices, put another switch here. Put another, maybe I'll use, these are actually routers that I've been working with on a daily basis. So I already have the router there, the 1941, so that's fine. I'll just need to put maybe one computer to save on time. Put one computer here, and then I'll do my necessary connections. So I'll connect from the router to the switch. This one, connect from the router to the switch, and then I'll connect from the switch to the computer. So this is how you are sitting in Accra and Kumasi, and then you are sending emails between you and your colleagues in the other office. The email comes from your computer. It goes all the way to the switch. The switch sends it to the router. The router will communicate with the other router in the other location, and it would disseminate the information to the specific user. So I mean, yeah, this is basically how even the internet works. It's like connections. It's all like connections. You have a Facebook server sitting in the data center somewhere in the US. You go to facebook.com in Accra, it sends your information over the wire all the way. So from let's say from your home, your laptop, it will send it to your home internet router. Your home internet router will send it to maybe MTN, also have a router somewhere. Then MTN will send it to their cable landing station at where CLS. The cable landing station is somewhere in around La. So you have a cable from La under the sea going all the way to maybe UK. And then from UK, there's another cable going all the way to somewhere else. And then you have a cable going all the way to the US. And then from the US, it will go through different routers till it finally gets to Facebook's data center where they have so many servers there. So it's like all these networks that we are talking about, they are physical connections at the very foundation. They are physical connections, connection from router to router to router to router. And that's how we are able to access information. Maybe between, let's say, like your mobile phone and the telecom is wireless, but then from the telecoms aspect, going to wherever it is cables, network cables all along with all different types of configurations to be able to let everything work together as is expected, right? Any questions? Let me just pause for now and ask if there are any questions. Hopefully, I'm not going over your heads, or this is not getting too complex. Any questions? No questions. Okay, so let's go on. So then basic setup. Okay, William, please go ahead.
Yeah, you answered the question I was going to ask initially. I was going to ask if the connections between the switches and then the devices could be wireless. I think you said yes, right?
Yes, it could be wireless or it could be wired.
So I'm guessing the limitations of is the technology these days able to set up wireless connection such that they would have the same capacity or effectiveness of the wired ones?
Yes, yeah, that's a good question because previously the wired communication was giving you more it's like a physical wire, so you have like higher speeds and a more reliable connection. And each one has its pros and cons, like wired versus wireless. You know, wired, you can't move around. It's like your computer is sitting on your desk. You don't, when you go to another office and you want to access your computer, you have to come back. But then it gives you the dedicated or a reliable connection, wired connection to the network. There isn't any issue of, low signal, weak wireless signal here or there. But then wireless 2 also gives you the option to move about from office to office with your laptop and work anywhere, but then you might end up going to a place where the signal is low and your internet connection won't be so good, so each of them have their own pros and cons, right? And wired networks are more expensive to operate because it's like you have to budget for like cabling, running the cables, terminating the cables. But wireless is like you just put one wireless access point there, you can serve an office of 50 people just from that single wireless access point. So each of them have their own pros and cons, depending on what the business requirements are, or what the company wants in terms of reliability and security. They'll opt for either going wired or wireless, right?
Okay. Yeah, and in between the routers, Do you think there's any possibility of in the future those being wireless connections as well, or you think it's not possible?
Oh no, like it's a technology that is used extensively. So for example, a lot of the banks, right? Let's say in Ghana, a lot of the banks, their different branches are being interconnected via wireless. So what will happen is that you have like a service provider in the banks, one of the service providers that had a large share of the banks. I don't know how it is now. It's a company called Comsys, right? So Comsys has wireless transmitters placed at like central locations. So one of them will be at Legon, on Legon there. One of them is at Trust Towers. One of them is at Tema, and they have all these wireless transmitters. Actually, there might be wireless connections here. They might, I don't know, maybe not. Okay. Yes. So you might have something like a wire. Oh no, is this a battery or? Oh, this is power grid. Okay, all right. I'm just looking to see if there's something like a telecom mast somewhere. Or yeah, let's say something like this. Oh, this is wind. Anyway, so like just like the telcos have their telecom masts, you can have a telecom mast somewhere, and then you have a wireless transmitter on it, one at the what we call like the base station, and then you have a wireless transmitter at the branch. And from that wireless transmitter, you have a wire coming into the router. So the communication between the branch and the central location is via wireless, and then the service provider would do another wireless to another branch and interconnect both of them. So it's like a wireless connection to the service provider, and then a wireless connection to the other location, and that's how they are able to communicate. So wireless technology is very much in use there. Yes, Prince, you have your hand up. Sorry, William, did I answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, all right. Prince.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that now the service providers is upgraded. Now they are all running fiber.
Fiber, okay. Forgive me. That's good to know. Yeah. So now they are doing fiber, which is good. Back in the day, they used to do a lot of like wireless, but now they are doing fiber. So that's good. Fiber is more like wireless is susceptible to so many like environmental conditions. Maybe some bird has gone to sit on one of your transmitters and is blocking the signal or something like that. But fiber is in the ground, unless someone goes to do some excavation which cuts the links, it's all in the ground. It's very stable. Like fiber links or like wired it gives you much higher stability than wireless, but sometimes limitations of like geographic distance and things like that prevent you from doing wired. So yeah, that's a good point to make. Okay, any other questions, or let's go on? Okay, so basically, when you first install, let's say like a switch or a router, you have to.
Hi,
Sure.
Kweku, how is it? This is Kweku.
Yeah.
I guess the question the earlier gentleman asked in terms of the connection between the network elements, the router and the switch. I don't know if he was referring to the weak interface connections, or maybe he was just limiting his question to the microwave links interconnecting the two nodes. My understanding was actually a connection between a router and a switch, if it can be wireless, because from the switch to the PC, we know we can have some Wi-Fi or in there to get the connections done.
Yeah. So normally, what we call the last mile, right? The last mile is the last connection to the end device. It can be wireless or wired. But mostly when it comes to interconnecting the network devices, because we want to give maximum availability and maximum bandwidth and throughput, it's mostly wired. I'm yet to see like a wireless switch connecting to a wireless Cisco router, right? Most of the time, 99.99999% of the time is going to be wired. And then let's say between locations, let me specify like between the locations, if you are using a wireless, there will be a wireless device sitting somewhere in your location, let's say on the roof of your branch office. And then that wireless transmitter is connecting to like some wireless modem inside the device or inside your location. And then from your router to that wireless device would be wired. So it's like wired, and then it converts that wired connection into wireless signals between the branch and maybe like the telecom mast, right? So that's just to clarify. Okay. Now, basically, when you put your device there, you have to configure or you have to configure it to be able to intercommunicate or work with the devices. Now, there is a very critical piece of information that every device that is on a network needs in order to be able to communicate with other nodes, and that is known as the IP address. IP stands for Internet Protocol Address. So Internet Protocol is like a protocol that was developed for devices on a network to communicate with each other. And each device needs to identify itself uniquely using an IP address, right? I'm sure most of you would have seen what an IP address looks like. But let's see, configuration. Yeah, so an IP address would every computer needs an IP address to be able to communicate with other devices on the network. So for an IP address, it will be something like this: 192.168.1.1. Then there's an piece of information known as like a subnet mask. I won't go into those details. This is just like a high-level overview. But in order for a computer to have the minimum configuration that it needs is to have at least an IP address and a subnet mask, right? So once you put that configuration there, and I mean, as you go deeper into like network design, like there's a way to plan how your IP addresses would work, because it needs to be like for every organization. Let's say that at the very foundational level, the IP address for every device needs to be different, right? So IP addressing is a whole topic on its own, but basically every device needs to have like a unique IP address so that they can communicate with another device. Otherwise, it's like having a home. You are living in a gated community estate, and two houses have the same address. So how will we know if two houses have the same number one or that year road? How do I know that it is this one or it is this one? All the addresses need to be unique so that I know that, okay, number one is different from number two, is different from number three. That's the same way that it works on a network. All the devices need to have unique IP addresses. So you plan all that out and know which address to give to like your devices on it. And then you come to your network devices. You have to also configure the ports that the computers are connected to, right? And even sometimes, like for a device like this, you need to maybe do the initial configuration and give it like a unique name. The font on this was very small. I wasn't able to like find a way to increase it, so it might be hard for you to see, but at least what happens is that you connect to the device, and in connecting to the device, normally when you are connecting to it the first time, you need like what is known as a console cable, right? It's a console cable. So I'll just stop the share to show you what it looks like. I have one here. It looks like this. It's like let me take this off. Yeah, so this is how the console cable looks like. It's like a blue device, and it has two sections. One is like a USB that goes into your computer, and then the other, the mouth is like a network jack. So what will happen is you connect this end to your computer, the USB to your computer, and then this end goes into the into the network device on a special slot that is known as a console port. I will show you what the console port looks like from this device that we have here. So let me close this. When we go into the physical device, right? And we see behind it, Prince, I'm coming. Behind it, you see this port is known as what? A console port. So the other end of my device will go into this console port, click into it, and then when I'll use a special software known as terminal software. I'll open it, I'll put the right settings in, and then when I tap the enter key, I'll have like a command prompt that is showing here with the device name, and that is how I begin to do the initial or the first configuration of the device. When I do the first configuration of the device and I give it an IP address, next time when I'm accessing it, I don't need to connect the cable again. I can sit at my computer, and because the switch has an IP address, my computer has an IP address, I will be able to access the device remotely from my computer, right? So, Prince, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, Fifi, I wanted to find out, apart from the part where people will be physically maybe doing the connecting of the cables, do you think that with regards to configuration, AI might, take over that space?
I mean, you see, the same argument came up when the cloud came. They said, oh, everything's going to the cloud. Network engineering, people will be losing their jobs and stuff. Look at us. We are here today. We are hiring for network engineers. 3 to 4 months, we can't find network engineers. So whatever advancement is coming, it's going to make some things easier, but I don't think AI is going to take over, because really AI, I was talking to someone recently. I was working with one guy in France and I was doing some setup from him, and then like he wasn't understanding certain things. So we had to like get on a call and I was explaining things to him. He said, you know what? I took your email and all the information that you sent me and I put it into ChatGPT, and it brought out all the configuration that I needed to do. And I was like, wow, that's really important, right? And I'm like, okay, so is my job in danger? But I'm like, no, you need to put that information into it for it to be able to interpret it and give you output. Like if you don't understand what you are doing, as the principle of garbage in, garbage out goes, you feed AI with garbage and it will also produce garbage for you. So you need a human being who understands networking and who knows what he needs to do. And then he can put that information into ChatGPT for it to bring out the configuration. And then can ChatGPT do troubleshooting? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how it can troubleshoot things. Like if you put garbage into ChatGPT, will it be able to tell you that, oh, this information that you are putting is not correct? Or how do you? So yes, AI is coming to make our lives difficult, but then we shouldn't be too afraid that AI is going to take away our jobs, because, I mean, whatever happens, like AI was even created by a human being, right? So there is going to be like some human elements that AI might not necessarily eliminate 100%, but it would make like our jobs easier and stuff like that, right? So in terms of like, oh, the initial configuration, you need to tell AI that, okay, I want to call my device this, I want this port to have this configuration, I want this to do this, and then it will generate the configuration for you, but you have to put the configuration into the device. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, like, AI is here to help make our life better. Network automation is here to make our lives easier and better, but I don't think it is going to easily or quickly replace the need for human beings. Otherwise, very soon we are going to live in a world controlled by robots. We will become the robots and will become slaves to the AI algorithms and the AI systems. But then it's to make our lives easier, not to eliminate us. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So yeah, we can still use it. So basically, yeah, initial configuration, there are some basic things that you need to configure. So especially to identify a device, you need to give it also a unique device name, right? It's like everybody has a different name, right? If everybody was called Kweku, how do you differentiate? You go into a room of 10 people, you say Kweku, everybody will respond and say, we are all Kweku, so who are you referring to? In the same way, these devices normally come with like a default configuration, but you as the network administrator have to like change the default configuration to suit what you want it to look like. So, I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but then this device has a name of switch. So it's like every single switch that you bring out of the box will have the name switch. And then we have to change the name to make it something more meaningful, right? Now, when you access the switch, there are different modes that the switch would be in, right? If you want to make some configuration changes, you need to go into a certain mode. So for this first mode, which is like the default mode, you see an arrow. And then in this mode, you can't do any configuration changes. If you want to make any configuration change, you need to go into what is known as enable mode. So you type in enable, and then depending on the mode in which you are in, you also see the command prompt changing. So first it was like an arrow greater than sign. Now it has changed to like a hash sign. So as an engineer, as you are configuring the devices, when you look at the prompt, you can tell you that, oh, this is the mode that I'm in. And if I want to do this, I need to switch from this mode into this mode. So if you want to go into a mode where you can change things, you need to go into what's known as a configuration mode. So then you type configure and then the word terminal, right? There are different modes that you configure in, but for what we are doing, we just do configure terminal, right? And then you realize that the mode changes and then it goes into like config mode to show you that you are in configuration mode. So this from here, you can do different changes. You can do so many changes. So what we are going to do is we are just going to change the name of the device and give it a different name. So we are going to call it Accra to identify that, oh, okay, this is the Accra switch. So it's basically knowing which commands will give you certain or the desired output or implement different changes, right? You need to know like the commands. It's like, okay, if I want to change the name of a switch, the command that I need to use is what? Host name. I leave a space and then I type Accra and then I press enter. So once I do that, I realize that the switch name has changed from Accra, from switch to Accra. So I can literally call it anything that I want. Most companies would have like a naming convention that they use to identify like different devices within their network. So depending on the changes that I want to do, I'll be able to do them through like the command line. Right. I will basically leave this. I'll just change the host name for here. I don't want to get into like deeper configurations to get some of us confused, but at the default level, at the default configuration level, okay, we've configured the switch and then we need to come to the router. So what I'm going to do for the router is I'm going to give it a different name. I'm going to give this interface connecting with this switch also, where did it go? Oh no. I'm going to give it an IP address, and that IP address that I do is going to make me able to communicate with this PC, and I'll do a test to show that, the router is able to communicate with the PC. And then between the two locations there are different configurations that we need to do so that Accra can communicate with Kumasi and vice versa and stuff like that. I'll probably just do like a basic configuration so that this PC can communicate with this PC, and we are at time. So maybe within the next 10 minutes, I'll be wrapping up. So what I'll do is I'll also, when we are using Packet Tracer, when you click on it, it will bring up the router and how it looks behind or how it looks physically. So this is how, if you were looking at a real router, if you were to look at it behind, this is how it would look behind. Depending on the model, every model has like looks differently. So this is a Cisco 1941. If I were to choose a Cisco 4331, it looks different physically. Yes, this is how it looks, right? It looks more rectangular. It looks, this is how it looks at the back. You have the network ports. This is how it looks on the front. You have the power button. You have the name. You have, different types of connections, right? So I would go into this router. I would go onto what we call the command line or the CLI, command line interface. Oh, wow. I really wish I could zoom in this thing, but it's really small. Or let me see, attributes. No, these are not the attributes of the router or the text. So basically for a router, what happens is it runs a software that enables it to enable like the network communications. And just like the switch, it has different ports. So at least this router has 2 ports on it. So every port has a naming designation, just like this switch port, you have like FA0/1, FA0/2, FA0/3. The same thing happens for the router, right? So that you'll be able to configure it depending on whether it is facing towards your internal network or whether it is facing towards your so we have 2 terms that we use. We have LAN, and then WAN. So local LAN stands for local area network. That means that within one location, the network there is known as the local area network. When you are connecting to other locations, the network that is used to connect the different locations is known as the wide area network, right? So a local area versus a wide area. So you hear engineers saying that, LAN, the LAN connection, that is the local area connection, or the WAN connection, wide area connection. In big companies, we have like a dedicated WAN, we can have like a dedicated WAN team. So that team, their focus is making sure that all the locations of the company all over the globe are interconnected, right? So like in my current job, we have like a team that looks after the different connections for all our different offices over the world. They ensure that, okay, I sit in Canada, we can communicate with our colleagues in Philippines, in the UK, in Australia, all those kind of things. And then we have a team that also looks after, like, within a specific office location, the network there. These are the guys responsible for it, right? So I'm going to configure the LAN facing interface of the router. When you start a new router, it starts what is known as like initial configuration. It's like a wizard that you can go through to help you configure some basic things, but I'm not going to use the wizard. So for the router, you need to give it a unique name, because every routing device comes with the name router, but we need to be able to differentiate between them. Because, I mean, some companies can have literally thousands of routers. So how do you differentiate between, oh, this router is sitting in China, this router is sitting in Ghana, this router is sitting in South Africa? It's all by the device name. So we realize that some of the configurations between the switches and the routers are common. It's the same, it's the same command that you use on the switch, the same command that you use on the router. So I will need to type enable here too as well. And then configure terminal. Configure terminal. Once you get experience, you won't be typing out the full names of the commands, right? There are shortcuts that you can use. Like instead of typing configure terminal, I can type conf t. So conf t would use that to configure the device, or to get into the mode where we can configure the device. Yes, Kobe, you have a question, please go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering if you were to type command with the addition sign, whether it will zoom in, the text will zoom in. If you could just try
okay, like zooming in my desktop. Okay, so it's actually zooming in the
background rather. Okay, that's
yeah,
fine.
okay. Let me, maybe I need to just go out of let's see. Let me see. Let me do this. Command. Okay, this is also doing the text specific.
But it doesn't work for the CLI.
It doesn't seem to work for the CLI. I don't know.
Then that's fine. That's fine. Right, that's
it. Let me see. Zoom in. Nah, it's just zooming behind. So yeah, it's really small. Apologies for that, but yeah. So basically, yes, I type in enable, and then okay, this is what I'll do. Let me just type in the commands and then host name. Accra, I can see this is one is Accra router. So for the previous one, I should have called it Accra switch. Once I do that, it changes this. So let me see, Control-Shift-5. Let me capture this. Then maybe I can zoom in with that. Capture selected window. Oops, what happened? Capture selected portion. Capture. Yeah. So I can zoom in. Can I? Okay. This one seems to be failing me. Oh wait, view. Okay, no. Okay, that didn't seem to work, but that's fine.
Could maximize. Is there a maximize on that tab or no?
Even if I maximize, it doesn't maximize the tab. It doesn't maximize the text. That's the only
text. Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I don't know why. Maybe it's a Mac limitation, but I don't know. For as long as I've been using Cisco Packet Tracer, I think it's had this challenge. So I don't know why they haven't found a way to make it better. Anyway, let's just continue and then. So next, what I'm going to do is I am going to configure this interface. And when you hover over it, when you hover over it, you see it shows you the name as GIG0/0. This one will be GIG0/1. Now, different ports, depending on their speeds, would have different names. This one you realize is FA0/4. This one is what? GIG0/0. FA is just short for fast Ethernet. Fast Ethernet means the speed is what? 100 megabits per second. GIG means what? Gigabit Ethernet. That means what? 1000 megabits per second. So different interfaces speeds would determine like different network capacities, right? So this one is a GIG interface. We call it a gig interface for short. So if you look at the description, you see the full name Gigabit Internet 0/0, and then Gigabit Ethernet 0/0. So we'll say gig 0/0, right? Configure gig 0/0. So we are going to configure gig 0/0. And the command to do that would be interface gigabit. And there's a cool feature where you don't have to type out the full command, but if you type out a few letters and you type the tab key, it will print out the full command for you. So interface gigabit 0/0. and then I press enter. Then it sends me to like interface sub-configuration mode, and then I'm going to configure an IP address for this interface. So I'm going to use the IP address. IP address 192.168.1.2, and then what is known as the subnet mask. Ignore that, just focus on the IP address. Yes, so now it is, I have given, so now what is happening? I have given this interface the IP address 192.168.1.2, sorry. And then I gave this PC what, if you remember, 192.168.0/1. So yeah, 192.168.1.1, and the router is 192.168.1.2. So what that means is that it's like saying that, oh, we live in the same neighborhood. We both live at Little Legon, but I'm number 1 and you are number 2. So this is on the Accra network. This is number 1. This is number 2. So which means that number 1 and number 2 should be able to communicate, right? And so I will need to, it is red. So I think the interface is shut down or it is not enabled. So I would enable it by typing no shutdown. Yes, and then when I do that, it will give me a prompt which says that interface is changed to app. You realize it changes to green. This changes to orange because it is kind of negotiating with with this interface to see there's something called spanning tree, but it's kind of like negotiating to identify the right properties for that port, right? So once it turns green, then it means that it is ready to allow communication between this device and the computer. Okay, so now both are green. So green, it means that the port is up. We are always very happy when we connect the device to a network device and we see green. It means that, yes, the link is up, right? So now what this technically means is that this router should be able to communicate with this computer. And there's a way to test this out in network. When it comes to networking, even on your computers, there is a way to test if you have like a network connection to another device. We use a command known as ping, P-I-N-G, right? I think the full name is what, Packet Internet Groper or something like that, but you hear ping. Oh, can you ping this IP address for me? So what that ping means is that what the ping is doing is that it is testing for connectivity between this device and this device. So this device will ping this device, and if it gets a response, it means that, oh, these two devices have network connectivity, right? Maybe I should use the PC because I think that would be better to see. Desktop, terminal. Oh no, command prompt. Oh, this is so small. Okay. Anyway, apologies for that. Okay, William, go ahead.
Hobby posted something in the chat. He said he changed the preferences.
Cisco packet tracer. Oh, okay.
Preferences.
Preferences. Or is it a different file edit options?
Yeah, I think you were there. Cisco packet tracer and then preferences.
Oh, preferences. Okay. Oh, good. I should have seen this earlier. Font. There we go. Oh, Charlie, for lack of knowledge.
So it's a CLI font, not the first one. The CLI font.
Oh, CLI font.
Just below, below that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. And then, this for CLI. Okay, PC console text. That's what I want to. General interface. Okay, no. Let's make this 14. Maybe when I close it, it would apply. Let's see. Command prompt. Oh, come on. Let's see if it affected the CLI. Oh.
I think you would have to save it down there. After doing it, you click on save down there. You didn't save it.
Oh, on the preferences.
Yeah.
Does it have a save button?
Yeah.
Font. CLI. Okay, it's gone back. Okay, you're right. And then general interface. Let me make it 14 too as well.
Yeah. Then you scroll down. Apply.
Good, Charlie. Good to have smart people around you. Wonderful. This is much better, right?
Yeah.
Or should I make it larger? Let me make it larger. Oh no, I don't want to exit. Yep, and that is sometimes something that you come across. You be doing network configuration, you don't save it, and then you lose the configuration. It's happened like many times. It's like you've been working on a configuration for 1 hour, you didn't save it, and then everything is lost. So always good to save your configurations as you go about. So let's come back to the command prompt. Yeah, this looks much better. So what I am going to do is to reduce this a little. I'm going to test for connectivity between this device and this device, right? So the command is ping, or let's see, let me see if this command works, ipconfig. Ipconfig. Yes. So ipconfig shows you if you go to your computer and you open the command prompt and you type ipconfig, you will see what your computer's IP address is. So this one says what? IPv4 address is 192.168.1.1, and then the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. That one is for another day. So we see that the first 3 portions and the subnet mask should match for what is on the router as well, right? So if you want to see after configuring it, IP address 192.168.1.2, 255.255.0, if you want to see it again, you type show IP interface brief, and then it will show you your gigabit Ethernet 0/0, the IP address. If you want to see the full configuration, then you do show run interface. Okay, 0/0. Will it work? Okay, I think it doesn't work. Show running configuration interface. Okay, I think let me see. Begin. Okay, begin. The Cisco packet tracer sometimes has like some limitations on the commands that you can run. So I have to type a gigabit. Let me just gigabit. Okay, yes. So this is what I want to show you. IP address 192.168.1.2, subnet mask 255.255.255.0. That is the same as what is on the PC. IP version 4 address. So we realize that the first 3 portions are the same, 192.168.1. Then this is .1 and that one is .2. So we are going to ping this one to see if it will respond. TING, and then you type the remote devices address 192.168.1.2. Let's see. Wow, you see what it says? It says reply from 192.168.1.2. Once you see reply from, that means that it is actually replying, and then it gives you the details. It says packet sent 4, packets received 4, lost 0. So all packets went and all packets came back. If I ping an IP address that does not respond, this is how it will look like. Or that does not, it will say what request timed out. Or maybe this one request timed out. It means no response came. Right? I think I should be able to. It will send 4 packets, so I need to wait for it 4 times too. Yes, William, go ahead.
Can you use this to check the maximum internet speed between the two or no?
Normally on a local area network, you don't really have issues like that, but it is maybe external to the network. So let's say you're at home and the internet is slow. You want to see, why is the Facebook slow? You can literally type in ping facebook.com. And then, this will not work, but then what happens is every website converts to like an IP address like 192.168.1.3, and you need a service running behind the scenes to help you do that conversion, known as DNS. So because you don't have any DNS on this, I won't be able to ping facebook.com. But you can try this on your computers at home. You go to Windows. I'm using a Mac, so it will not work. But you go to, you hit the Windows key, then you type CMD. When you type CMD and enter, this black screen will open up, and then you can type ping. If you type ping facebook.com, you will see that it will respond from an IP address. So the DNS is working behind the scenes, and that's how you can use to check if the response time. So you realize that here the response time is what? Less than 1 millisecond. But I'm sure if you type it from your computer screen, you see something like 200, 300. Sometimes it will be dancing. It will go like 50, 60, 100, 200, 300. Then it means that like your internet connection is not stable. But if you are getting the same number consistently, then it means that, oh, your internet is stable. Sometimes it will respond, then you have request timed out, then it will respond, then you have request timed out. It means that your internet connection is not good, right? So that's how you can check network connectivity, right? Okay.
Thanks.
Now we've gone over time. I'm just going to quickly finish this portion so that we can ping from here to here, and then we know that we have been able to connect Accra and Kumasi to each other, right? So I'm going to configure here as well. And each of these segments need to be like different IP addresses, unless, how do I say it? So for this one, the switch is acting like as a transparent device. So the packets are just going through. So all these devices will all be on the same 192.168.1 network, right? From this end. But for this different interface, it needs to be a different IP addressing, IP addresses being used here. And for this segment, it also needs to be a different IP address. So I will use a different segment here, and then I'll use that to configure. So this one is interface, let's see. Interface, no, let me move this to the side. And then configure this here. So this is interface G0, this is G0 gigabit Ethernet 0/0, this is 0/1. I'm going to configure 0/1 and use a different IP address. And so config terminal interface gigabit 0/1 and IP address 192.168. So this one, this section, they were all 192.168.1, but I'm going to use 2, which puts it on a different like address, 255.255.255.0, and then no shutdown. And then the interface has come up, right? Okay. Now, if this interface is up and this one is down, the link will still be down. So I need to configure this one and also bring it up. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to the CLI. Do you want to enter the initial configuration dialog? I'll say no, I want to. And then I'll enable, then configure terminal. I'll give it a host name, Kumasi router. Okay. And then I want to configure the interface next. So this interface is also gigabit 0/0. Okay, so interface gigabit 0/0. Now this one was 2.1, so I'll say this one is 2.2. So IP address 192.168.2.2, 255.255.255.0. And then I'll bring it up. Let's see it change from red to green. No shut down. Now you see both of them are green. So now I'm going to test. Can I connect from here to here? Can I connect from here to here? So what I need to do on the Kumasi router is I need to ping the address of Accra router, this interface, which is what 192.168.2.1. Let's see, will it respond? Okay. You see the first, a discovery needs to go on under the hood to know whether they can reach it. So sometimes when you configure an interface for the first time and you ping it, and you ping the other side, the first one will not respond, and then it will start responding. But if you do it again, you realize that it will respond, and you see success rate is 100%. This one, the success rate was 80% because 4 out of 5 came back successful, right? Okay. Now, remember the IP address of this. Let me see if I can reach it from, if I can reach the LAN interface of Accra from Kumasi. So that one is 192.168.1.1. I can't reach it. And this goes into some of the additional configuration that you need to do to be able to reach remote locations, but I'll come back to that. So let's go to configuring this interface, which is, I think this was this was 0 interface 00. So this one will be 01. So I'll do this configure terminal interface gigabit. Let me bring it back here. 0/1 IP. That one also needs to be a different segment, 192.168. I'll use 3.1 here, but 255.255.255.0. It needs to be the same, no shutdown, and then it comes up and is green. So you realize that green, the same thing is happening on the switch here, it is orange. So this is 192.168.3.1. We'll give the PC 3.2. So configure interface IP address 192.168.3.2. Subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. Okay. Then we'll leave it like that. You can go to the desktop and confirm. Command prompt IP config. So it shows us that this is 3.2. This is 255.255.0. Okay. Now let us test to see if from this computer we can reach the router, the Kumasi router. So we'll test it using ping 192.168.3.1. And it says it was reply. Now, remember this side is what? Is it 2.2? I think it's 2.2. Let's see if we can reach that segment too. So ping 192.168.2.2. I can't reach it. That's interesting. Why can't I reach it? It's because after you have done the basic configuration, you need to do additional configuration for the two sides to reach each other. And that configuration is known as routing configuration. Like, you need to tell the router that if you want to get to this network, this is how you get there. If you want to go, it's like telling the router that if you want to go from Kumasi to Accra, you need to go to Ejiso. Then from Ejiso, you go to Nkoko. Then from Nkoko, you go and you drive and you get to, what's that place called? Osino. Then from Osino, you get to Amasaman, and before you get all the way to Accra, you need to give the router that information, because remember I said our routers interconnect locations to each other, right? So we need to do that configuration so that we'll be able to let the two nodes communicate, right? So I'll come back here. This was if I want to check what I have configured, I'll just do show IP interface brief. Oh, sorry for typing the shorthand. I've done it. I'm used to typing the shorthand. But if you do the full command, is show IP interface brief. And then to show you that 0.0 is 2.2 and 0.1 is 193.168.3.1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Kumasi, this is Kumasi, I'm going to tell Kumasi that in order to actually, was I able to reach, did I ping 2.2 or 2.1 from the PC? 2.2, okay, request timed out, that's fine. So what is going to happen is I'm going to tell Kumasi that, okay, I know why it did not respond. I need to set what is known as a default gateway. Yes. Gateway IPv4. Like that's what the default gateway tells the computer is that if you want to connect to a network that is not local, where should I send my traffic to? So what we need to tell this router, what we need to tell this computer is that your IP is 192.168.3.1. If you want to connect to any network outside of here, you need to be sending your traffic to this router so that it would forward your traffic on. So the default gateway would be 192.168.3.1. 3.1, which is the IP of this interface, right? 3.1. So if I save it, or it saves it, if I go back and I ping 2.2, wow, you see it started respond. No, it started, did it? Okay, I'll ping it again. And now this time, instead of timing out, it is responding, because I know that in order to get to 2, I need to send my traffic from myself to this router. So I'll do the same for this PC. Remember this PC, the IP address was 1.2. IP config 192.168.1.1. Subnet mask is this, but you see the default gateway, I do not have anything set. So I'm going to put the IP address here as the default gateways to tell it that if you want to send traffic outside of this 192.168.1.1 network, please send it to this interface here. So I'll go to config, DNS, gateway DNS, or gateway DNS, that's what we need. I will say 192.168.1.1. And then when we come back here and we do the IP configuration again, we realize that this time it has changed to 1.1. So now it's like this computer knows how to reach this guy. He knows how to reach this interface here. This interface should be 2.1. Let's see if you can reach 2.1. PING 192.168.2.1. Or is it 2.1? Okay. Okay, it can't reach it. I wonder why it can't reach it. Let's see. So this is how, like, I mean, this is like day-to-day life of a network engineer. You'll be doing configurations and troubleshooting why someone cannot ping something, right? So I want to see, what do I have configured? Show IP interface brief. So I have 0/0 is 1.2. This is 0/0 is 1.2. Okay, so this is the mistake that I made. I set my default gateway, instead of setting my default gateway to 1.2, I set it to 1.1. So that is why I cannot reach 2.1, which is here. And this is how you troubleshoot. Like, you look at your configuration, did I put in the right one? Because look at the error that I made. My default gateway and my address are the same, right? If this was a real computer, it wouldn't even allow you to do this. So I need to change this from 1.1, which is my address, to change it to the address of this device here. So I will come here, I will change it from 1.1 to 1.2. I will go back to the desktop. I'll confirm what I have configured. Yes, okay, so my address is 1.1, my gateway is 1.2, so I should be able to reach 2.1. Let's try 2.1 again. And now it responds. So now I need to see if I can reach Kumasi router, this interface, from this interface. Now we have 3 different networks in play here. Every interface of a router is a different network, right? So this one has 2 interfaces. So this is one network. This is also one network. So this is the 192.168.1.1 network, or 1.x network. This is the 192.168 2.x network. This is the 192.168 3.x network. So now I want to see if I can reach 2.2 on this side from here. I shouldn't be able to reach it. So 2.1, I can reach it, which was this interface. Let me see if I can reach 2.2 on this interface. I can't reach it. So what happens is that the packets, or the ping information, now network devices communicate with each other using what is known as packets. It's like individual bits of data. It sends it from here and says that, oh, I am coming from 1.1, I am going to 2.2. So it sends it through here all the way to here. When it gets here, this guy will look at the packet and say that, you are coming from 1.1 and you want to reach 2.2. But this guy will say that, but I don't know 1.1. Oh, I don't know 1.1 because this network here is 2. something. This network here is 3. something. So I don't know 1.1. And so what will happen is that it will drop the packets, and that is why we get this request timed out here. So then you will need to configure that routing information to tell this router that if you see any device coming from 1.1 and he's trying to communicate with you, send your reply back to this router. Because this router, he is connected to 1.1, so he knows where to find 1.1. So what you do is you tell this Kumasi router that if you want to get to, if someone in Accra wants to communicate with Kumasi, the traffic should be sent back to the Accra router. I don't know if it makes sense. I probably lost some of you, but I mean, little by little. So then what you need to do is we need to configure the routing information. The command is IP route, and we are going to tell this Kumasi router that this is how you get to the Accra network. And the Accra network is what? 192.168.1.0. Now this, I'm going to use 1.0 because it's going to represent the whole Accra network, not just that computer. So I'll say 1.0.255.255.255.0. And then the parameter that I need to put there is the forwarding router's address. So the router that will forward the traffic from here, or the router that will forward the traffic that is sent from here over to the Accra network. And that is what? It is the same network, but then I need to point it to this interface, which is what? 192.168.2.1. So what I'm telling Kumasi is that if you want to get to Accra network, the route that you need to send the traffic to is this address. So you're saying, Kumasi, if you want to access this network, send your traffic to this guy on this address. And then you press enter. So now when we go back to the computer and we want to ping Kumasi 2.2, which was previously timing out, let's see if it will work this time again. And we realize that it is now working. Right? And so now that we can reach this interface on Kumasi, we want to find out, can we reach this interface and maybe this interface or this IP address, this PC? Once we can reach this PC, then we know that, oh, Accra and Kumasi can communicate. So I'm going to ping this IP address. So 3.1. I can now reach 2.2. I'm going to see if I can reach 3.1. And that is ping 192.168.3.1. It says what? Destination host unreachable. Destination host unreachable. When you see destination host unreachable, it means that, oh, it seems I knew how to get there, but apparently I don't have the full picture of how to get there. So what's happening is he's sending his traffic over to here. This guy is sending it here, and he's trying to reach this segment. But this guy said that, I don't know how to reach. I don't know how to communicate from this network back to this network, right? And we can even, or let's say that this time he sends his traffic over to here, but this guy said that, I don't even know how to reach this 3 network. This router says, I don't even know how to reach this network. I know how to reach this network. So then we have to do the same thing that we did here in Kumasi. We need to tell Kumasi, we told Kumasi how to reach the Accra network. Now we need to tell Accra router how to reach the Kumasi network, which is the 192.168.3 here. So we come to this router and then we do the same thing that we did. We say that what IP route, if you want to go to Kumasi's network, 192.168.3.0, the whole network, the subnet mask 255.255.255.0, please send your traffic to this interface. This interface is what? 2.2, I believe. 192.168.2.2. And I put it there. Now let's go back and try. Can I reach 3.1? Yes, I get a reply from it. And then can I reach 3.2? This is 3.2, right? 192.168.3.2. Can I reach 3.2 from Accra? Yes, I can reach 3.2 from Accra. And now my basic network setup is completed. So I have told, so now this PC can communicate with this PC because I have told the routers. Now, remember I said routers are used to interconnect different locations together. I have told the Accra and Kumasi routers I have told Accra how to reach Kumasi LAN, right? Remember I said the network between different areas is known as the WAN, WAN, the wide area network. The network in a location is known as the LAN, the local area network. So what I've done is I have told Accra PC how to get to Kumasi PC. And I did that by telling the Kumasi router how to get to the Accra router how to get to the Kumasi LAN. And I told the Kumasi router how to get to the Accra LAN using what is known as routing. That is these configurations, IP route. This is known as routing configuration or static routing configuration, right? I have told them how to do this. And with that, I come to the end of my demonstration. Any questions? If you are confused, I'm sorry, but this is just very basic and, like basic high level, but just to give you an idea of how networking works, right? So what is, whatever is happening here is like, this is the basic of what happens for Facebook in California to communicate with your mobile phone in Ashayaman, right? It's just basically all the intermediate devices saying that, oh, you want to get to Facebook in America, okay, send your traffic to this router. This router says, oh, you want to go to America, okay, send your traffic to this router. Oh, okay. To get to America, you have to send your traffic to UK. Then UK will say that, oh, to get to America, I have to send your traffic to, Pacific Islands. Then Pacific Islands says, oh, to get to California, I need to send you to, San Francisco. And that's how you have is a whole network of routers from beginning to end communicating with each other and making, networking help make like people from all over the world to communicate with each other. William, you have a question?
Yeah, I saw that, and you also mentioned that you didn't make any changes to the subnet mask configurations.
Yes.
Assume that you can have a basic setup without doing anything on that side. And my second question would be, what extra dimension would the subnet mask configuration bring?
So the subnet mask configuration helps you to more or less divide the network into smaller, should I say, smaller chunks. So it's like someone gives you a piece of bread and you want to share it to 4 people. You can divide it into 4 equal sections. So the subnet mask is like the knife that you use to slice the bread, right? Because the thing is that when you go into the subnet mask is just basically to help you to distribute IP addresses to the host on a LAN, right? Now, let's say, for example, this LAN has only 3 devices, but the subnet mask that we used has the capacity for 200 devices. So 197 of those addresses go unused because we only have 3 hosts. But we can manipulate the subnet mask such that, instead of assigning 200 devices to Accra LAN, we can break it down so that we can use only maybe 6 addresses. So then we use 3 and then we have 3 left. Out of that bigger, it's like breaking a bigger network into smaller chunks. So out of that big network of 200, we can divide it into like 25, rather than having that big 200 in just one location. And that is the significance of the subnet mask. It helps us to better manage like IP addressing in a way that we do not waste addresses, because sometimes in a bad network design, you realize that the addresses have been wasted, and it's like you need to redesign the network so that you can, as more people or as more devices need to connect to the network, you get IP addresses to use for them, right? That's the subnet. That's the like basic explanation of how the subnet works, but
Oh, okay. So that means for bigger companies, you have more than one subnet mask. It takes only 200, right?
Yes.
200.
Yeah. Like you normally look at the size of the office and how many employees and devices are there to determine which subnet mask to use. The larger so if you want a larger number of IP addresses, you manipulate the subnet mask in a specific way. If you want smaller number of IP addresses, you also manipulate the subnet mask. There's some binary binary calculations that go behind the scene. But as you do is with time, you can like now I can just look at the subnet mask and say that, oh, okay, this is how many IP addresses you can get from this subnet mask. It comes with experience and with practice. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? If you are confused too, I'm sorry about that, but hopefully this introduction has been helpful to, at least get you, a rough idea of how you can set up a network. So I mean, this skills, and it goes as as wide as you want it. I'm going to share. Let me see if I can find this, but when I was preparing the slides, I had some previous information that I had used to kind of demonstrate how, basically, yeah. So let me share this. So this is when I was working at Vodafone, so this is kind of like the Vodafone network for the whole Ghana country. So you realize that you have, let me zoom in. Oops. Like this is all like how the network was working. Oh, come on. Yeah. So basically, all these are locations with routers there, like going across the country. And that's how like Vodafone is able to do all like their broadband connections. So these are all like routers. Yeah. So these are all routers. Like this is TNG, Teshinungwa. Then you have a connection going to cantonments. Then you have two routers at cantonments. Then we have this ARN, Accra North. Then we have a router at, Dansoman. Then you have a router at Wager. Then you have one coming back to Accra North. And we have one at Accra Central. Then, it's like routers in different parts of the countries that are interconnected by like fiber links. And that's the foundation on which like your mobile data, your phone calls, like your all those things, that's the foundation on which it works. So it's like different routers of different sizes. This is where Lashi B, Tema A, Tema B. This is where Keta, Aflao, Madina, Achimota, what's this? BAT. Where's BAT? Bachona, You have some in, what's this? Elubo, Bogoso, Takrady, Cape Coast, Winneba. So that's how like the network is, that's how the Vodafone is able to have like network coverage across the whole country. It's just different routers. And then they are building on top of that, like the wireless technology, and all the other services that it offers. So it's like at the basic, this is the basics. This is the basics, connecting routers to different locations and connecting devices behind them so that they can communicate. So this is how it starts. And then from there, you are able to scale it to cross like a whole country, and then even continents, right? Even continents. I think I had another picture. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, it wasn't this one probably, but so for example, Government of Ghana e-government project, right? So if for those of you notice, there are these tall towers, white towers, wireless towers. There's one on the Legon Hill, there's one at other places too. But they are all, those are all like, they are being used for CCTV. The police have some place where they have CCTVs on certain routes, and they are using it to monitor traffic accidents and stuff. It is part of the Government of Ghana e-gov infrastructure that was implemented by Huawei. So all that is built on top of the Vodafone network. Right, it's built on top of the Vodafone network, and at the basic, it is just like routers connecting other routers, right? Let me see if I can find the other one, which kind of like shows like an Africa-wide kind of communication network. Oh, where did that one go? Oh, it was really cool. anyways, if there are any other questions, I can take them while I try to find this one. Otherwise, you can draw the curtain. So, I mean, if this is a path that you are interested in taking on, the skills for Africa website is like is a good place to start, is a good place to begin from. And I mean, yeah, if you are interested to pursue this, just reach out to me. I can give you like further pointers and direct you to other resources and help you get going on your network engineering journey. Okay, I think it's on a different computer. It's not on this one, so I wouldn't be able to find that one for you. But like, yeah, hope this time has been helpful. Sorry we're going over time, but this is just a basic high level introduction. Like, you can go deeper and as deep as you want to go. So if there's something that interests you, I'll be happy to answer further questions offline and get you started on your journey. All right, so back to you, Esther.
Yes. Thank you so much for this session. We have learned so much from this, and you made it so easy for us to also pick up, especially those of us who are not in the IT field. So thank you so much. I have shared his email. He posted his email, so I have shared his email in the chat, but I can put it in there again in case you want to reach him. Yeah. So yeah, so put it in there again, and then you can also find him on LinkedIn under the same name, Kweku Fulson. Also, this session was recorded, so if you want a copy of the session, you can just email us at this. I'm putting the email in here, and we would send it to you. For anyone who wants a copy of this recording. Okay. Yeah, so I've sent all the information here. Thank you all so much for coming for this workshop, and we hope that it has been educational and very, very exciting for you to enjoy, to be part of this workshop. So that would be all for now, and I hope you have a good evening for those of you in Ghana, and those of us here, I hope you continue to enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right.
Look forward
Thank
to
you very
hearing.
much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.